Indra. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rishi Madhuchandas Vaishwamitra, Devata Indra, Chandas Anushtup. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rik 1.
Indram Vishwavirhan Samudravya Sangiraha Rathitavam Rathinam Vajanam Satpadim Padim.
All invocations increased Indra to ocean-like expanse, foremost charioteer, master of abundances, master of truth. Narratives, skewed expressions of duality. This verse can be construed to be a lesson on narratives, objects, and change. Any object is essentially just that, an object, with traits that are peculiar to its composition, its position in the hierarchy of things, and the processes of existence where it gets used. It acquires relative adjectives like great or insignificant, useful or useless, good or bad, and the likes, depending on the narratives set for it by various observers or affected groups, or by politico-competitive compulsions, or just the innate permanent urge for change. Time changes views, effects, and competitive arenas, and narratives too change accordingly. The object, however, remains its original self through these changes external to it, unless time also modifies its composition and position, in which case it becomes an entirely new object. Applying this notion to Indra, he is just Indra. It is the hymns from the Vedas that magnify his personality to such proportions that he is bestowed kingship of the celestial realm. He will perform his work regardless of such titles and worship, which is termed his sacrifice, while all existents within his bounds of reach are also exhorted to follow his lead in this manner of activity. It is interesting to note that Indra's stature now, in popular discourse, is not what it used to be during Vedic times. He too has become a victim of mortal narratives. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rik 2.
सख्येत इन्द्रवादिनो माभेम समसस्पते त्वामभिप्रणोऽनुमोदेतारमपराजितम्
Shall fear not in friendship of potency. Indra, master of strength, we go forward to you, the victorious, the unconquered. Our friendly alliance with Indra. Considering overall threat potential that exists on a given day, living to see the following day without being affected by any of the component threats making up the total potential in any manner is a victory for an individual, given that the average daily world death rate is 332,648 individuals for the approximate world population for the year 2023 of 7.6 billion. And we speak of only human lives. Death is the inevitable conqueror that gets to us some day or the other. However, Indra, as he has been defined and described, remains unconquered from the beginning of creation to the end of dissolution. Before and after this span, nothing exists anyway, and Indra, as an entity, has no utility before or beyond it. The notion of being conquered is valid only in the event of a system losing its ability to self-regulate. It is a relative expression applicable only within the limits of the cited span. Hence, these epithets of Indra, the master of strength, victorious, and unconquered. While we, the mortals, are about, we always have a friendly alliance with Indra. But for inevitable death, we have nothing to fear. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rik 3.
पूर्वेरिन्द्रस्य रातयो न विदस्यन्त्यूतयाः यदीवाजस्य गोमदस्तोत्रभ्यो मह्मते मघम्
Bestowals of Indra are abundant. His assistances do not waste away. When he grants the pleasure of abundance of herds for his worshippers. Nature's relentless regulatory means. This verse probably alludes to the apparent problems of plenty when Indra's bestowals in excess of immediate requirements of rain or any of the other atmospheric grants or of grace beyond what a person's ego can handle, causing perceived disruptions in the set norms of living of the worshippers, like floods, droughts, excessive drop or increase in atmospheric temperatures, misdeeds impelled by an inflated ego, and so on. The approach to these aberrations can be two ways: accepting that nature, the natural forces, and Indra know best about environmental regulation within and without. For these supposed aberrations function as agents of weeding out mostly infirm specimens of inanimate and animate existence, so that those of the species that survive are the ones that are capable of withstanding extreme environments, and so the probability of the generations begotten by them being equally capable is higher. Indra's mandate is to ensure a robust existence, and in this context, weeding out infirmities too is a part of the larger regulatory exercise. This is perhaps what is meant by the phrase, "His excessive bestowals do not waste away," when Indra increases the pleasure of abundance. Not only is the march from creation to dissolution relentless, equally inexorable are nature's regulatory processes. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rik 4.
पुराम् बिन्दुर्युवा कविरमीतौ अजायत इन्द्रो विश्वस्य कर्मणो धर्ता वज्रीभूरष्टुतः
Breaker of strongholds, young thinker, boundless virility, Indra was born, the upholder of every activity, wielder of the thunderbolt, praised by many. Indra, a stickler for rules and mandates. An epithet-full verse enumerating the qualities, in human terms, of Indra as a personified entity, qualities that remain undiminished through the existence span of the universe, and he ever young. Indra's mandate is only to stabilize a system without any bias towards a singular atmospheric composition, regardless of the activities that happen within it and the consequences thereof. A case in point is the repeated extinction of a number of species upon Earth, attributed to sudden cataclysmic events that cause change in atmospheric composition. Indra stabilizes this changed system, creating newer norms of being in which those older species that can adapt survive, the others perish, while newer ones evolve and thrive. He has no soft corner for any particular species of beings and no agenda for his undertakings other than his mandate. These are all desirable traits of an ideal administrator, and so is he the king of gods. Every system that he regulates has to be a stronghold, and there will be an equivalent to a thunderbolt that he wields in each of these systems as well, that releases accumulated inherent tensions and pressures, what is otherwise known as evil in human parlance. The verse also appears to emphasize that the notion of immortality is valid only for the duration of the universe. To say that Indra is born makes him explicitly to be a product of duality, but for the exception that his span of existence is the same as that of the universe and he dissolves with duality at the time of universal dissolution. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rik 5.
त्वम् फलस्य गोमतोपावरद्रिगोपिलम् त्वाम् देवा अभिभ्युषस्तुज्यमानास आविषुः.
You uncovered cave of Vala, of cattle, master of thunder, fearless gods, you speedy ones entered. The legend of Vala and a possible asteroid hit. The legend of Vala identifies him as a denizen from outer space, perhaps a large asteroid of the kind that is associated with the extinction of dinosaurs. Vala was killed by Indra, the earth's atmosphere, and he fell to his death upon earth with some body parts falling on land and others in the oceans, but not before he had hidden away the herds of cows in a cave of darkness, meaning clouds and truth streams that disrupted activities across planes of existence. Indra found the hiding place, sent his troop of wind gods, the Maruts, who surrounded the cave, destroyed it, and released the herd. Comparing this narrative with the analyzed aftermath of the dinosaur-associated asteroid hit, soil samples reveal that there were mighty tsunamis, devastating wildfires, and release of billions of tons of toxic gases that blotted out the sun, causing the earth to cool, which in turn drastically affected the water cycle, the formation of clouds, and flow of figurative truth streams. Essentially, the expression of natural laws to maintain atmospheric equilibrium was compromised. In time, however, the regulatory system of the atmosphere, Indra, prevailed and atmospheric order across the planes of existence was restored. The cows were released from captivity and darkness, becoming free to shower their abundance upon life on earth anew. The ever youthful, ever victorious, ever unconquered Indra had triumphed once again, as he always does. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rik 6.
तवाहम् सूररातिभिः प्रत्यायम् सिन्धुमावदन् उपादिष्टम् दगिर्वणो विजुष्टे तस्य कारवाः.
With your gifts, valiant, I came towards you, communicated to ocean, one who delights in the seen word. Seers stood nearby, they have known of you. Water cycle and truth cycle. The water cycle appears to be again alluded to in this verse. Taking Indra's gifts to the ocean could refer to rainwater and groundwater as river originators flowing into the oceans. It further says that the seers who heard or saw the Vedic hymns before composing them stood nearby when the waters were communicated to the ocean, and they knew of its work, which is to transfer water from itself as moisture to the atmospheric air, aided by the heat from sunlight, which then rise up to the sky forming clouds that in turn shower down as rain, replenishing groundwater and other surface water bodies, thus completing the cycle. This can be considered a declaration that Vedic hymns are records of natural phenomena, the forces involved in this exercise referred to as gods, and those who understood the dynamics of existence as seers, all ensconced in the metrical arrangement of metaphoric words in a manner that the vibrations of its rendition are in consonance with the vibrations of the natural processes in focus. A truth cycle can be visualized on similar lines. Basic elements as truth representatives come together to form material bodies imbued with life and finally return back to their basic states upon death. Perhaps the practice of immersing ashes of the departed stems from this correlation of flowing waters with ever-flowing truth and in the process, living truth. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rik 7.
मायाभिरिन्द्रमालिनम् त्वम् सुष्टमवादिरः विदुष्टे तस्य मेधीरास्तेषाम् सर्वान् सुत्तीरा.
With illusions, Indra, you brought down Shushna, the conjurer. The wise have known of his reputation, surely do pervade their sayings. Arid droughts and desiccating depressions. The verb root shush means to dry. Shushna is the personification of the process of drying up or drought. Occurrence of droughts is occasional. Any average human lifetime must have been witness to at least one localized severe drought, with its accompanying misery visited upon all life forms within the affected domain. But, as it is with everything in creation, A fix for any problem evolves with the problem itself, and when the problem peaks, the mitigatory mechanism kicks into play and works towards resolving the anomaly. This is the way of existence. And Indra, the regulator, plays a pivotal role in this resolution, which is recognized, heard, and composed as Vedic hymns by the seers. The interplay of atmospheric processes that cause and resolve droughts, being largely invisible to human sight, are referred to as illusions and conjuring in the verse. Depressive droughts occasionally beleaguer our minds too, and our respective internal Indras resolve them as well. Every happening in the physical plane has a likeness in the mental, requiring similar mitigative mettle on the part of both the respective Indras and the mortals concerned. Mandalam 1, Suktam 11, Rik 8.
इन्द्रमीशानमोजसाभिस्तोमा अनुषत सहस्रम् यस्य रातय उत वासन्ति भूयसीः
Soma libations have gone to Indra, vigorous master, whose bestowals are thousandfold and become even more abundant. Everything in existence is a holy cow. The last verse of this collective affirms that Soma libations, extolling Indra, are offered in gratitude to his copious gifts, which are increased even more by him in response to it. This can be construed to be an additional affirmation that rain-making and grace bestowal, though being natural processes, is greatly enhanced by the specifically directed activities of humans for this purpose. A pronouncement that induced rain-making and grace bestowal actually work, that the combination of soma plant extracts and the vibrational intent signals conveyed to the clouds and the truth collectives from the sacrificial altar uncannily perform the tasks they are intended for, which is to realize the common truth behind both. Surely, contemporary technology is as uncanny, but the intent of its application is more exploitative of nature that has its deleterious effects in every sphere of activity. From a pastoral perspective, the notion of non-abuse of its primary representative, the cow, is based upon the notion that you can only milk the cow after its offspring has had its fill and not exploit it in any other way without facing an adverse fallout. This sentiment must apply to any cow equivalent, which is essentially everything in existence.
Oh.